I had always been close to my little brother Alex ever since. We were kids who shared everything, our dreams, our secrets, our fears. Even as we got older and life pulled us in different directions, that been between us never faded at 20. I was in college balancing classes and a part-time job while Alex 17 was finishing his last year of high school despite being smart, kind, and genuinely one of the best people. I knew Alex had always struggled when it came to girls. She was shy, painfully so, and every time tried to talk to someone he liked, he would stumble over his words or second-guess himself until the moment passed. Had never dated anyone, and I knew it bothered him one evening as we sat in our living room watching a movie and noticed the way he sighed heavily, his fingers drumming idly against the armrest. "What's up?" I asked, nudging him playfully. He hesitated then, shrugging anything just thinking about he sighed again. "I don't know, it's stupid. Come on, Alex. You can tell me anything you know." That he looked at me for a moment, then exhaled sharply. "It's just, I feel like I'm never going to get anywhere with girls. I see guys at school flirting so easily, making it look effortless, and it just frees up." I smiled softly. "You've always been more of a thinker than a talker." "That's not a bad thing." "Yeah, well, thinking doesn't get me a girlfriend," he muttered. I could see the frustration in his eyes, the way he wrestled with his insecurities. It hurt me to see him like that. "What if I helped you?" I offered suddenly. He blinked, turning to me in surprise. "Help me?" "Yeah, like we could practice. I could teach you how to be more confident, what to say, how to flirt without overthinking it." "We could." I paused, realizing how ridiculous it might sound, but to my surprise, Alex didn't lie. He actually looked interested. "You'd really do that?" he asked, his voice uncertain. "Of course, you're my little brother. I want to see you happy." He hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, but where do we start?" I grinned. "First things first, we need to work on your confidence." That was the beginning of something I never expected. The next day, I started paying closer attention to the way Alex carried himself. I had always known him to be soft-spoken, reserved, but no, I realized how much of his personality was wrapped in hesitation. The way he walked, shoulders slightly left, hands often stuffed in his pockets, gave off an air of uncertainty. His voice, though, pleasant, lacked conviction when he spoke, as if he wasn't sure his words mattered. That afternoon, while our parents were out, I decided to start his training. I sat across from him at the kitchen table, my arms folded, as I studied him. "All right, lesson 1. I say, tapping my fingers against the wooden surface. "Confidence." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Okay, and how exactly do I get it?" "You fake it." I said simply. "You act like you already have it, and eventually it becomes really." Scoffed. "That sounds like nonsense." I smirked. "As I think about it, people don't actually know how you feel inside. They only know what you show them. If you act confident, they'll believe you are. And once they believe it, you'll start believing it too." He hesitated as if he wanted to argue, but nodded slowly. "So I just have to pretend I'm confident." "Exactly. Walk like, hey, you own the room. Speak like you know what you're saying. Don't hesitate. People pick up on hesitation." I stood up and motioned for him to do the same. "All right, let's try something simple. Walk across the room." Alex gave me a weird look, but did as I asked. His usual walk was relaxed, casual, but not exactly condescending. "Now do it again," I instructed, "but this time roll your shoulders back, keep your chin up, walk slower, more deliberate." He sighed, but eyed adjusting his posture. The change was subtle, but it made a difference. "Better," I said, nodding in approval. "Now the next time you walk past someone at school, I want you to walk like that." Alex chuckled. "You want me to strut down the hallway?" "Not strut a lot, but carry yourself like you matter, because you do." Confidence wasn't just about walking, though. It was apathy. You spoke, how you reacted to people, how you held yourself in conversation. Alex had a bad habit of looking away when he talked to people, as if he was afraid of taking up too much space. That needed to change. "Eye contact," I said the next evening, sitting across from him again. "You always look away when people talk to you. That makes you seem nervous or unsure. Instead, hold our gaze." Alex fidgeted. "That's harder than it sounds, Igno. That's why we're practicing." I leaned in, slightly looking him straight in the eye. "Let's do this for 1 minute. You hold my gaze, and no matter what, you don't look away." He swallowed, already looking uncomfortable, but nodded. "Fine." "Is it a timer?" and stared at him. At first held his own, but after a few seconds glanced away, rubbing the back of his neck. Nope." I teased. "You lost." He groaned. "This is stupid. It's practice." I reminded him. "Try again." We repeated the exercise several times the first few trees. He kept breaking eye contact, but by the 5th attempt he lasted almost full minute before looking away. "Better." I admitted. "That's going to help you a lot." Alex sighed, leaning back in his chair. "I don't get why this is so hard for me." I smiled softly. "Because you ever think you always have you analyze every little thing and psych yourself out, but the truth is talking to someone, especially a girl, is in a life or a situation, the worst that happens, she's not interested, and then you move on. Alex exhaled slowly, considering my words. You make it sound so easy, he mumbled. That's because it is, I said, once you realize their rejection. Isn't the end of the world, it gets a lot easier. A few days later, I decided it was time for Alex to put his practice into action. We went to a nearby cave. After school, a place where a lot of students hung out, I picked a table near the counter and kept an eye on the barista, a cute girl about Alex's age. All right, I said, nudging him. Go order something. He frowned. Why? Because you're going to practice talking to a girl high size. What? No, I'm not ready. Rolled my eyes. It's literally just ordering coffee. You're not proposing marriage. But no. But I cut him off. Walk up there, look her in the eye, and order confidently. Alex sighed heavily but stood up. I watched as he approached that counter, looking tense but determined. The barista smiled politely. Hey, what can I get you? Alex cleared his throat. Yeah. Caramel latte, please. She nodded, punching it into the register. Anything else? He hesitated too long, but then shook his head. No, that's it. She gave him total and he paid quickly, almost too quickly. Before stepping aside, when he returned to the table, he looked exasperated. That was terrible. I grenade. No, it wasn't. You ordered. Made eye contact and didn't mumble. That's progress. Head groaned. Yeah, but I didn't say anything. Cool. I laughed. You don't have to be cool, Alex. You just have to be comfortable. That's what matters. He slumped in a scare, but there was a small smile on his lips. Over the next few weeks, we kept working on little things, his posture, speech, his comfort in conversations, and little by little he started to change. I noticed it when he came home one day and casually mentioned that he had talked to a girl at school without overthinking. I didn't stumble over his words, didn't panic. She was nice, said, leaning against the kitchen counter. I raised an eyebrow, and it felt normal. I wasn't freaking out. I beamed with pride. See, I told you, you had it in you. Alex shook his head, a chuckle escaping his lips. I guess I just need death, right, teacher? I smiled, feeling a warmth in my chest. He had come so fair already, and I had no doubt that with a little more time, he would be just Finny. After all, confidence wasn't something you were born with. It was something you built, and Alex was finally starting to see that for himself. Over the next few weeks, I noticed a real change in Alex. It wasn't just in the way he spoke to people, but in the way he carried himself. Started standing a little taller, hesitating less when he spoke, and Evan smiling more. I could tell he was beginning to believe in himself. Even if he still had moments of doubt. One evening, we were sitting in my room just talking like we always did. The window was open, letting in the cool night air, and the room smelled faint lavender from the candle I had lit earlier. Alex was lying on his back on mud, staring up at the ceiling, his hands resting on his stomach. I sat cross-legged beside him, flipping through a magazine. Though I wasn't really reading it, you know, he says, his voice thoughtful. I think I get it now. I glanced at him. Get what? He turned, he shed to look at me, his dark eyes serious in the dim light. Confidence, it's not really about saying the perfect thing or being the coolest guy in the room. It's just about being okay with who you are. A slow smile spread across my lips. Exactly. That's what I've been trying to tell you this whole time, he chuckled. Softly, yeah, I guess I'm a slow learner. He nudged his arm playfully. You're doing great, Alex. I'm really proud of you. His smile faltered slightly, and for a moment just looked at me. Really looked at me like he was trying to memorize something important. The air in the room shifted slightly, an unspoken weight settling between us. You know, he murmured, I don't think I ever told you how much you mean to me. I frowned slightly, setting my magazine aside. Of course you have. We're close. We've always been close. Has swallowed, his throat bobbing. No, I mean more than that. Something in his voice made my breath hitch. The way he was looking at me wasn't the way a little brother looked at his big sister. It was something deeper, more vulnerable, moral. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The quiet hum of the night filled up the space between us, but it wasn't a peaceful silence. It was thick, charged with something unspoken. Alex started not sure what I was even going to say. I love you, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. My heart clenched. Love you too, Alex. You know, that shook his head, sitting up slightly. Not just as my sister. I love you in a way I probably shouldn't. Felt like fear had been knocked from my lungs. Mim raced, trying to process what he had just said. I searched his face, hoping, praying that maybe I had misunderstood, that maybe this was just an exaggeration, a fleeting thought he didn't really mean. But his expression told me otherwise. He was serious. He had been holding this inside for a long time. I looked away, staring at the flickering candle on my desk, my thoughts a tangled mess. I had always loved Alex, always felt a deep connection to him, but this was something I had never even considered. See, something, he pleaded, his voice laced with something fragile, like he was afraid I might shatter him with my next words. I exhaled slowly, tried to steady my voice. Alex, I know. He cut me off. Abater smile playing on his lips. I know how it sounds. I know what people would think, but I don't care. I can't change how I feel. I closed my eyes for a moment, willing my heart to slow down this ways, Alex. My little brother, the boy I had grown up with, the person I had always protected, and now he was looking at me like I was the only thing in the world that mattered to him. I had no idea what to say. Silence stretched between us, shavy and uncertain. He rubbed the back off his neck, looking away. Forget it, he mumbled. I shouldn't have said anything, Alex. No, really, just forget it. He stood up, running a hand through his hair. I'll see you in the morning. Before I could stop him, he walked out of the room, leaving me sitting there, my heart pounding, my thoughts spinning. I had never seen him look so hurt, and I had never felt so lost. The next morning, I woke up to find a small folded note resting on my bedside table. For a moment, I just stared at it, the events of that previous night rushing back to me in a haze of mixed emotions. The weight of Alex's words still lingered in my chest, but instead of the panic or discomfort I'd expected to feel, I felt calm, maybe even something else, something I didn't quite have the courage to name yet. I reached for the note with careful fingers, unfolding it slowly. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said what I said last night. I know it was wrong, and I don't want to make things weird between us. You're my best friend, and the last thing you'd ever want is to ruin that. Please forget I said anything, Alex. I traced my fingers over the words, reading them over and over. He thought I was upset, that I was hurt, that I wanted to forget, but I didn't. I exhaled slowly and lay back against my pillow, staring up at the ceiling. You should have felt anxious, but I wasn't. Instead, I felt an unfamiliar warmth spreading through me, something soft and new. Last night, I'd been too overwhelmed to think clearly, but now in the quiet light of morning, I realized that something that should have scared me liked what he had said. I wasn't sure when it had started. Maybe it had been growing for a while, tucked away in the corners of my mind where I refused to acknowledge it, but now that it was out in the open, I couldn't ignore it. It turned my head to the side, looking up empty space where Alex usually sat. When we talked late into the night, Mimmin drifted to him, his voice the way he had looked at me, the unspoken vulnerability in his eyes. I had never seen him like that before, or maybe I just hadn't let myself see it. Is that pushing the blankets off me as a strange kind of determination settled in me, my chest? I couldn't just pretend nothing had happened. I found Alex in the kitchen, sitting at the counter with a cup of coffee, his head down as he stared at his phone. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept much. When he heard my footsteps, he glanced up, his expression unreal. Morning, he said, his voice guarded. Morning. I hesitated for a second before walking over and leaning against the counter across from him. I could see the way his shoulders tensed, like he was bracing himself for whatever I was going to say. I pulled the note from my pocket and placed it on the counter between you. Didn't have to write this. His fingers tightened slightly around his coffee cup. Yeah, I did. No, you didn't. I swallowed, choosing my words carefully. Alex, I wasn't upset. His eyes flickered up to mine, startled. You weren't. I shook me head. I was surprised but not upset. He studied me, searching my face for something. So what does that mean? It took a slow breath. It means maybe we need to stop pretending we don't feel things just because we're scared of them. His lips parted slightly, as if he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. I reached out and plucked my hand over his. I don't want to forget. For the first time since last night, his expression softened, and for the first time I let myself really see him, and I didn't look away. I sat there, my hand still resting on Alex's, feeling the warmth of his skin beneath my fingertips. Kitchen was quiet except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the soft ticking of the clock on the wall. For the first time, I wasn't rushing to topple the silence. Alex's fingers twitched slightly under mine, as if he wasn't sure whether to hold on or pull away. His eyes searched my face, hesitant but hopeful. So, said his voice barely above a whisper. What? Now I let out a slow breath. I don't know, but I don't want things to be weird between us. His lips curved into the faintest smile. Me neither. We sat there like that for a while, neither of us moving, neither of us wanting to break the fragile moment between us. The weight of what had been said, what had been left unsaid, hung in the air. Eventually, I pulled my hand away, but not because I wanted to. I needed a moment to think, to process. You're not mad? Alex asked again, as if he still couldn't believe it. I shook my head. No, just figuring things out. He nodded, slowly looking down at his coffee. I get that, and somehow that was enough for now. After that morning, something between us shifted. It was subtle, at first almost imperceptible. The way we looked at each other lingered just a little longer. The way we spoke to each other felt a little softer. I started noticing things about Alex that he had never really paid attention to before. The way he ran a hand through his hair when he was nervous, the way his eyes crinkled slightly when he laughed, the way his voice deepened when he was tired. Had he always been like this, or had I just never let myself see him? One evening, we were sitting in the living room watching A movie we had done this 100 times before, but this time felt different. Maybe it was because we were both more aware of each other now. Alex sat beside me on the couch close, but not too close. I could feel his presence beside me, solid and warm. My heart was beating a little faster than usual though. I wasn't sure why. At one point, he shifted, stretching his arms behind his head before letting them fall back down. His arm brushed against mine just barely, didn't move away, neither did he. The movie played on, but I wasn't really paying attention anymore. I could feel the warmth of his arm against mine, and it was distracting in a way I didn't expect. I turned my head slightly, glancing at him. Out of the corner of my eye, he was staring straight ahead. But I could tell he wasn't watching the movie either. I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. Alex, he turned his head, and for a moment we were closer than West would have been. His eyes met mine. Dark and unreadable, yeah, his voice was quiet. He hesitated. I didn't even know what I had been planning to say. I just knew he wanted to say something, but before I could, my phone buzzed on the coffee table, breaking the moment. I blinked, pulling away slightly as I reached for it. It was just a text from a friend, nothing urgent, but it was enough to stir whatever had been hanging in the air between us. Alex exhaled, running a hand through his hair. I should probably head to bed, I nodded, forcing a small smile. Yeah, me too. Neither of us moved right away. Eventually he stood up, stretching slightly before glancing at me one last time. Good night, he said softly. Good night, I whispered back, and as I lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling, I realized something. I wasn't just seeing Alex differently, I was feeling differently too, and I didn't know what to do about it.